Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're taking a look at S-Hawk once again in some PvP action. But this time, we're taking him onto a driven-based team. This particular unit, he's very interesting in PvP. Honestly, he's probably the best PvP unit they've ever released in terms of just exclusive PvP character. I will give Raizo Shinobu a lot of praise, though, because Raizo Shinobu literally carries like shooters on their back, as well as just being a phenomenal unit you can throw on any team. But with the 20 cost PvP update, you can basically do the same thing with this S-Hawk. Now, S-Hawk kind of just walks in on the slasher team. He's a driven int slasher, and in PvP, he buffs the HP of int characters by level 6, HP, defense and speed of slashers by level 5, and then when your HP of S-Hawk is below 50%, he gives everyone a level 5 attack buff. He's special on a 28-second cooldown, mind you. 28 seconds is just feral. Like, that's so quick. He gives himself a level 7 defense buff to the entire crew for 15 seconds, whilst at 600 healing for every 5 seconds just for himself. And then he deals 2.5 times his attack that will ignore defense to 3 enemies with the highest HP. I believe it's the highest HP. The database says highest attack, but I believe it's the highest HP. So this guy hits like an absolute goddamn truck. Like, he hits so disgustingly hard and basically just walks in on the slasher team. Like, you slap him straight in the middle, he just provides bulk, he provides defense, he provides damage. He's doing a lot for what the team actually has. And it makes slashers go to the goddamn moon. But a team that really, really, really needs the help is Driven. Driven just need so much, and Int needs so much. And once again, this unit just walks straight into the team. However, this particular team, it's definitely nowhere near as shiny and super powerful as the actual slasher team is. Now, Mihawk buffs int slasher units. Now, int slashers don't really have too much going for them besides Doflamingo. Now, I did want to highlight this part of the video because Doflamingo, as you guys saw in the last clip, he can do some stuff. He's just not that incredible for the driven-based team. I've come to a point where I'm kind of off V1 Doflamingo. For defensive teams and like when you're running S-Hawk and Whitebeard Roger, I definitely can see his value. But over here on the driven team, I just think that V2 Doflamingo on the bench just provides a little bit more. And now with the PvP 20 cost update, characters like Apu can just be used on the bench, which is absolutely insane. It opens the door to a much stronger lineup for driven, and it's something that they really, really need. So we're going to take on a much bigger side team now. I did take on like a Hina build that really wasn't too threatening. I was pretty comfortable taking it on. And I've been trying to put together a very good driven team for this showcase for the last couple days, just with my PvP matches and in PKA, just taking on certain stuff. And I couldn't really come up with anything that sort of just showcased them to what I wanted to showcase. However, I ended up coming up with this comp right here, kind of by accident, really, because I was doing so much stuff with V1 Doflamingo and his 6+, that I kind of just overlooked V2 Dofi. I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to bring V2 Dofi in on the bench, and let's use Apu on the bench, because I have a feeling we're going to get absolutely destroyed. Fuji's great in the front. He provides a lot of bulk, and he does exactly what he needed to do for me for the first 30 seconds, which is basically hold on and then die. So that way we have Apu come in. Apu gives level 3 CD reduction. That allows us to sort of counter Law just a little bit. But now he comes in with his special after going after S-Hawk. S-Hawk throwing out 10,000 damage against Sai is absolutely disgusting as well. Now Apu comes in with a nice fresh HP threshold and can do something like this. So having Apu as a bench option, because that 20 cost, makes Driven just so much more valuable. Yes, Apu works great against Sai units, but he also gives CD reduction, which means that if he comes in off the bench, if something dies, or you're going up against some of these bigger teams, like this is where Apu will really, really, really shine. So we actually managed to get a lot of knockouts, we managed to get a lot of kills, and took down the Sai team, like, incredibly easy. And like I said, this is not like a piss weak Sai team. This is a pretty stock standard Sai team that has a lot of 150 units. Everything was 150 except for Gear 5. So honestly, I was pretty impressed by this particular run. However, I wasn't sold that the team is the top echelons of team. Now, Sai is still very, very good, but if you're talking like Free Spirits, Slashers, the Strength team, those three are just in a class of their own compared to something like the Sai team, the Quick Slasher team, the Quick Driven team, and hell, even Driven I like. Shooters have actually made a pretty good rise as well, obviously with Rise of Shinobi, as I mentioned at the start of the video, and I do believe that this particular team, it's pretty much on the same echelons as what Shooters are actually trying to do. Driven were once upon a time the go-to team for PvP, and it's kind of interesting to see that now that we're like years down the line of PvP being a thing, and it kind of not having a particular spot even close to the top 5. So I do like meta shifts like this, and I do like when they release characters like S-Hawk that can come in on these teams, put them on their back for a couple of months with some extra buffs that may come after them, and just sort of bring the team back onto a nice rise up. S-Hawk is a very scary character. You want to be very, very careful when you're taking him on. Psi units aren't going to work. They're not going to cut it. Like, they're just not. When taking on S-Hawk, you're basically just going to have to find a way to tank that damage and then hope and pray that your bench has got it covered, because he's also immune to Action Bind. Raizo Shinobu, Hina, Odin, those types of characters that will normally affect him just aren't going to. And really, you're only going to have luck with stuff like Special Binding, Halve Stats, or rolling back their specials with stuff like Boa or Nami Karina. That's what I kind of find the character struggles the most, is Halve Stats. If he gets hit by Halve Stats, it obviously nerfs his damage super drastically to the point where he doesn't just clear house as much as what something like Strength Luffy would. Strength Luffy does an insane amount of damage, and is the best PP unit in the game, purely because he does so much damage like this, but he is completely immune to half stats. That shot right there, hitting 3 units, should have been around 10 to 11k, and honestly, I'm very, very close to feeding another 2 posters to my S-Hawk and Limit Break expanding him just to increase that damage output. Alright, so taking on shooters now, because I do believe that the Driven team with S-Hawk is probably on the same echelons as what the shooters actually are. Obviously, this particular shooter team is the challenge team, and you can definitely make it better by just putting on Fuji Kizaru instead of the 6+ Kizaru. You're not going to have that crazy-ass bench that you see right there, but Fuji Kizaru, man, like they're absolutely disgusting. So I do think Driven have kind of risen back to a point where they are usable. But again, if you're talking top 3 teams in the game, like you've got Slashers, Strength, Free Spirit sitting comfortably at the top. Cerebral are doing really, really good things right now against Free Spirit teams. Shooters are doing exceptional things with all the buffs they've had. Like, they've had just buff after buff after buff in the last couple of months. It hasn't put them in the top sort of echelons of the top 5. But they are still very, very good. Psy, Free Spirit is still an exceptionally powerful base team. They got some nice buffs with the PvP update, being able to use like Kawamatsu on the bench and using stuff like Enel on the bench now. But this Driven team, like I said, it sort of just gets clumped in with the rest of the class-based teams, because you can do some really fun stuff now. We're in a really interesting part of the PvP meta where some characters are just so good that you can just put them on whatever class they have. If they're not synergizing perfect with that class-based team, what they provide in the PvP format is just so powerful that they just bring that team up. And S-Hawk is definitely one of those units for Driven and for Slasher alike. Like, he's pulled Slasher from second into first, in my opinion. It's gone back and forth with Strength, to be honest. Like, if you say Strength is the best, I'm not going to hold it against you. For me, I'm a Slasher, man. But S-Hawk jumping in on the Driven team has definitely increased Driven's value and made them a much, much stronger team to actually deal with. So, if you see S-Hawk on benches, if you see S-Hawk in front lines, be very, very careful, because there's a good chance the RNG could turn around. This unit could come in, smack around 3 of your units for around 11,000 damage that goes through defense, and then you just put in a really, really, really tough spot, either when you're running something like a 6-man team, or if you're at the back end of a fight and he's popping off his special for the second time, doing stuff like this and just taking down the front lines of what you had perceived to be a winning opportunity. So this particular Driven team, I do think, is probably the best one that I've come up with. If you guys think of anything else or have any ideas, please let me know in the comment section below. I just think V2 Doflamingo off the bench, then sacrificing Fuji in the front to get him in is definitely the play, rather than having V1 Dofi in the front. But when it comes to defense, V1 Dofi does hold his own alongside S-Hawk. But that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down that bell, like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.